I've rolled the V8 engine and the transaxle. You know, as earlier I joined them together, and I've now rolled them underneath the car using the transmission jack. And take a look here. Oh, also I installed the passenger side, or sorry, the left side or driver's side motor mount that attaches to the underside of the car. You can see I've installed a nut plate to attach that mount to. The car doesn't come with that. There's the original passenger side ears that mount the that attach to the transmission of the Toyota MR2 normally aspirated and the Toyota MR2 Turbo. Even though the MR2 Turbo and the NA car use different transaxles, they look very similar on the outside, and they have a mounting point on top of the transmission somewhere in this area here to go to those ears. But the GMF40 does not. The only place where you can attach anything is down low here. So that's why I've got one half the mount there, the other half there. So I'm going to go ahead and jack the engine up into the engine bay of the Toyota MR2. Oh, by the way, there's my front side firewall nut plate doubler that I added for the front side mount. When jacking up the car, it's important to move the engine around and make sure that you're not going to hit anything important or vital and break anything. We're looking at the passenger side of the car. There's the passenger side mount. There's a sensor on the engine that's on the rear cylinder bank, or what would be the right hand cylinder bank if the engine were mounted longitudinally. At any rate, it's on the rear bank, and it's about to hit the frame rail of the car. And it's important that you don't break that sensor. It's just plastic. So having this jack, again, is super beneficial because it's on casters. So I can move this engine around. I can move it sideways. I can jack it up and down. I can roll it forward and backwards and make sure that everything clears. See, right now we're underneath the trunk of the car, the rear trunk, affectionately known as the brunk on the MR2. And you can see I can move it around quite a bit. As I jack it up, I need to move the jack forward and backwards, slide it around a bit, and it takes a little bit of moving around. You don't just jack it straight up into the car. So believe it or not, a car lift might actually work against you in this case, unless you have the engine sitting on a on some kind of dolly that you can move around as you move the car up and down on the car lift. In my case, I don't have a car lift. I'm on jack stands. There's one of the jack stands, and so the car is stationary, and I'm just moving the engine up and down. Yeah, I'm laying on the floor, and we're underneath the passenger side of the car, and you can see the passenger side mount. You can see the ears up in there. We've got to make sure we line that up. Make sure nothing hits back here, and so on. And you can see this is the alternator, and it's right now it's right up against the firewall. When the engine's all the way up in there, it's got about a 1/4 inch of space. It's not much. So you see why I needed to fit the alternator in as tight as I did. And I moved the engine further forward than what is in the MR2 Turbo or the MR2 NA, because otherwise this big notch that I made in the frame, turned out you don't really need to have that notch. But see, at the time that I was putting this in the first time, I didn't know that. If I were to do this again to another MR2, I wouldn't need to make this notch because I moved the engine further forward than originally planned. So I'm going to keep on jacking it up there. The other thing to remember is that this is a very slow process of jacking it up. Better to take your time, go carefully, go slowly, make sure everything is lining up, move the engine around a little bit. If you have to drop it back down again, go ahead and drop it back down. and then go back up again. Just take your time and go slow. Looking at the driver's side mount, you can see they're coming together. You can maybe kind of see how the mount works now in two pieces. Look at the front mount, and it's lining up okay. And I've already got the passenger side mount slipped in between the ears, and it's hard to see from here, but it's in there.